Hi there, and today we're talking about daily schedule intervention. This presentation is done by Danielle, Jordan R. Grace, and Ashante. So the purpose of daily schedule is to arrange and modify the daily schedule so that it maximizes instruction time and minimizes wasted time. The goal here is to arrange a schedule that ensures an increase in instruction time and promotes responsible on-task behavior. The level of structure you determined to be most appropriate for your classroom management plan has a direct impact on how you approach the task of setting up and using daily schedule intervention. So the first step is to ask, how much structure do you need for your classroom? The level of structure you determine to be most appropriate for your classroom management plan has a direct impact on how you approach this task of setting up and using the daily schedule. The second step is to write out your daily schedule with the corresponding activities that occur within each subject. To write down the subject area and the most common activities, also make sure that you write down how much time each activity takes and whether the activity is teacher-directed or group task-oriented.
All right, so step 3 is to evaluate. Evaluate the variety and times for each activity. To do this, we have 3 guidelines. So the first guideline is to make sure you have reasonable balance among the types of activities throughout the day. The goal of this guideline is to have an equal variety of teacher-directed instruction, independent work, and cooperative or peer group work throughout the day. We want to balance the kinds of tasks students do in a day. Look at your schedule and estimate the approximate percentage of time that the students spend in the various types of tasks. Guideline number 2 is to avoid having any one type of task run overly long. The amount of time an activity takes is important. It is not only important for making sure every subject matter is taught, but it is also important to make sure students stay on task. While there is no rules about how long an activity should go, on average, an activity should last for 30 minutes or more can become problematic. A lesson that is designed in a clear, interesting, and fun way with independent assignments that can be successfully engage the students in longer periods of learning time.
The third guideline is to schedule independent work or group work tasks so that they immediately follow teacher-instructed tasks. Having teacher-directed instruction is an excellent way to generate positive energy and momentum and get everyone thinking about the same topic. In teacher-directed instruction, starting the class by reviewing previous concepts, introducing new concepts or skills, and then moving students into independent work or cooperative tasks allows the teacher to clarify what students should be working on, creating a clear explanation for on-task behavior. The most problematic times during a day are transition times, the last hour of the day, and the last 5 minutes of the class period. These are 3 times a day that students typically exhibit the most misbehavior. In these times, it must be made a point to diligently teach students what your expectations are and how to meet those expectations during those times. The first one is transition times, and misbehavior tends to be common right after recess and entering the classroom from the hallway. Misbehavior is common seen at transition times. With directly teaching students how you want them to enter the classroom and settle down is shown to decrease the likelihood of misbehaviors occurring. The idea here is to provide the direct instruction before students go out to recess for the first few days of school, and every so often or once a week for the rest of the year, as well as having the direct instruction available to students. There should also be a task or activity for students to complete immediately after recess that allows for students to calm down and prepare for class to begin.
The last hour of the day. Avoid scheduling and too much independent work by breaking up the class into different sections. Avoiding scheduling at the end of the day, students and teachers are more tired by this time. They are also more likely to be distracted at the end of the day as opposed to the beginning. Breaking up the class into different sections. depending on the kind of classes that you are teaching, you can be creative in the way that you break up the end of the day. For example, you can break up the class into different sections based on what you are doing throughout the class. You can have some lecture time, some independent work, and then go back to guided practice. The last 5 minutes of a class period. Each class period should end with a teacher-directed activity. Students tend to think that if independent work time is scheduled at the end of class, it's considered free time. An example of a teacher-directed activity would be saying something to the class, such as, "Class, you have 15 minutes to work independently on your assignment. Afterwards, we will come back together as a class to go over any questions for clarification." This is also a time where the teacher can observe the class independently or in a group, observing common errors and/or poor work habits. To summarize, the scheduling of subjects and activities across the day have a tremendous influence on student behavior. Arrange your daily schedule so that it maximizes instructional time and responsible behavior. The goal of this intervention is to arrange and modify the daily schedule so that it maximizes instruction time and minimizes wasted time. You can do this most effectively by using these 3 steps: determining how much structure you need for your classroom individually, writing out your daily schedule, and then the corresponding activities that occur within each subject, and finally, evaluating. The 3 guidelines to follow are: first, making sure that you have reasonable balance among the types of activities throughout the day. 2, avoid having any one type of task run overly long. And 3, schedule independent work or group work tasks so that they immediately follow teacher-instructed tasks.